Drew, welcome. Welcome to Now We Sip Champagne. We're so happy to have you today.
Yeah, I'm happy to be here.
Yes, and Drew, tell me, what are we sipping on today?
I don't drink, so anything you have non-alcoholic, like a seltzer maybe?
Absolutely. As you can see, we have Topo Chico today for your sipping beverage preference. So let's go ahead and we'll open that up. A little bit of ice.
Sounds great.
3 years and I'm serving you. How nice is that?
It is really nice.
Yes. All right. Okay, a little bit of lime. And one for you, sir. There you are. And cheers.
Cheers.
Yeah. Drew, thank you so much for being here on Now We Sip Champagne. This is a very exciting day, and I know that we've talked about this for quite some time, and it's always really special when these things finally come to life. You have ideas and you round table them and you talk about them, and then there's many, many days of building, and then you finally get to, not say the finish line, but to that day where your ideas come to life and you can see them, and I am so excited to have you here.
I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, and more important because, when we talk about these ideas, you're somebody that was there right from the very, very beginning because you are actually an employee of the Bond Group.
Yes, I am.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Yes. And speaking of that, I actually have a little something special for you today that I brought. And
Oh my God.
I'm just going to go ahead and reach into here and not pull it out of my sleeve, but pull it out of my pockets. A piece of paper, and you know how I feel about pieces of paper, so you know that this is special, that I actually pressed print on this.
Oh my God.
So this is actually the email that you sent back in 2023 when we put out an ad. We were looking for some additional team players. We had just opened Not a Speakeasy, and we were looking for some people to help, and this is what you wrote to us. You said, "Hey, exclamation point, I'd love to come in for an interview. My name is Andrew, and I have a lot of experience working in fast-paced, busy environments. I've worked at festivals, clubs, managed tours, and primarily have a background in sales. For the past few years, I've worked as an engineer at a recording studio, but I'm looking for something new! Exclamation point. So what got me, I think is I'm a big fan of the exclamation points. I think that that we're exclamation point kind of people.
Yeah.
And this was such a great introductory paragraph. But what's even more interesting is that if you flip to the actual resume, there is nothing food and beverage on it. So we've got senior city coordinator at DV Kansas, and it actually ended at 2020. And you were interviewing in 2023, so there's a nice little chunk there. We have a fundraising manager at Greenpeace. Mm-hmm. Very interesting. An artist producer at A&R. A sales specialist at Urban Outfitters. So still looking for that discount. And then a farm animals rights movement, doesn't say exactly what, but I'm sure you'll tell us what you did in 2015 with them. Actually says tours with Vans Warped Tour. We need a discount on those too. In 2015, doing outreach to build farm support. And then finally, your skills: sales, marketing, PR, brand building, outreach, graphic design, web development, tour management, administration. Mm-hmm. So a really interesting resume, and more so because you were applying for something in the food and beverage industry and you had no experience in that industry. So what made you want to send that email looking at what you've done, and why did you want to come?
It's actually such a weird story because I was dating this girl.
Always starts with a girl, right?
Yeah.
Or a guy, but starts with yes.
So it was like a mixture of things. The pandemic had happened, and I had just flown into New York, I think a week before everything closed down, and I was about to start a new job, and I was working at a studio, and I was like, I was about to start over in New York. Then lockdown had happened, and I had just kind of taken whatever money I had and bought a bunch of camera gear, and I started shooting music videos. It started as a thing where I just told a couple people on my block, I was like, hey, I'm going to start shooting music videos, so if you know anybody, and I actually got one of my friends from my neighborhood got on FaceTime with this this rapper Drew Foreign, and he's like, "This is Drew. He's gonna shoot your music video." I think that day he came and picked me up from the front of my apartment, and I started shooting videos and learned how to edit it and all that stuff. And that honestly is how I survived through the whole lockdown era. But the thing about that was everybody had money at that time. All of the rappers and singers I was working with, everybody was getting like unemployment or other ways. And everybody was trying to be creative. So we were just booked. And then at the studio that I started working at, we were like booked all the time. Everyone had money. After things started to open back up, all of a sudden calls stopped coming in. You know, we would do shoots and be like, "Oh, we'll pay you next week," stuff like that. And money started getting really slow. And this girl that I was dating, I was
Was
just
it the same girl?
same girl.
Okay.
And this girl, she, you know, she would just hear me all the time talking about how I'm like, I don't know how I'm gonna get through because money slowed down. I don't know, like, you know, I have this video shoot, but they haven't paid full yet. And all of a sudden, I just started kind of like running out of jobs. And she was like, "Why haven't you tried bartending?" And I remember I told her, I said, they're not gonna hire me. I don't have any bartender experience. And she's like, "Just email out." And I would always say like no and argue with her about it. And eventually I was talking to her and she's like, "You need to put in applications." And I just sent out like every application. I went door to door to like every bar in my neighborhood. I was going through Williamsburg and Bushwick. And I think I printed out like 100 something resumes,
Wow.
and I handed them all out and shook the hands of whoever was there, asked them if a manager was there, and got no calls. Zero calls. And I told her, I said, "I told you this isn't going to happen." And then I got your email.
And then you got the email. Well, so, okay.
And I was so lucky. Oh my gosh.
So it's funny that you say that because I believe that we create our own luck. And while you did get lucky per se because you got that shot because of who you are. And when we sat down in the interview, I always ask the same things, and I just ask you to tell me about yourself. I can obviously ask you about your job experience, and I knew right away because your resume was attached that you didn't have any food and beverage experience. And it's so funny about New York because they all say the same thing. You have to have experience, but how can you get experience if you can't get hired?
Yeah.
But this is true of New York, and you have to do exactly what you did. You have to pound that pavement. This is that city that if you make it here, you make it anywhere. And it's not the city that's just going to let you in. This is, you know, the greatest city in the world. Of course, they're not just going to let you in. You have to want it, just like you want anything great. And so you fought for it. And what really came through was your personality. And, you know, you can't teach things that are inherent. I can't teach who you are on the inside, but I can teach anybody a skill. I can teach somebody how to clean a dish. I can teach somebody how to fill a bin with ice. I can teach somebody any of these things, which are, you know, the basics. And, you know, I also say about food and beverage that it's a one night stand or till death do you part. It's the only industry you can pick up and put down while you're pursuing your passions and your dreams.
Yeah.
You know, it's the one that helped me when I was a dancer once upon a time. It was the one that helped me when I was a Muay Thai fighter once upon a time. It was the one that was always there for me while I was figuring out what my passion and what my dream was. It was this one night stand that I kept having, and then fast forward to now, and I have a hospitality company. And like I said, that was never what I thought I wanted for my life or wasn't sure what I wanted, but now I know I couldn't do anything else. Speaking of that, so now you were hired as a barback, right? Which
Yeah.
is essentially the lowest of the totem pole when it comes behind the bar. But you have to learn how to bar back to be a strong bartender. You need to know that foundation. You need to know where things go. You need to learn the lay of the land behind the bar. And it's a pretty intense position, especially in a high volume establishment. Lots of yelling, if we're being honest here. And it can be a little bit more difficult for someone that it's like learning a new language and you just get dropped into whichever city or whatever country that you're in and you don't know anything. You got to learn it. You got to learn it quick, right?
Yeah, I mean, I remember the first day was insanity. I mean, because it was like so slow and dead. I was like, I can do this. And then we just got slammed. And I was serving and I had never done this. And I'm like, I feel like I'm going to spill everything and break everything.
You probably did. You probably broke
I
some things.
probably broke
You
a
probably
couple
broke some
things.
things. That's part of it too, right?
Yeah.
That's like that rite of passage. When I was 13, my first position, I lied about my age and I got a job as a dishwasher. And then the chef that I worked for, he taught me how to serve under the table and taught me how to do all these things. And it was a tray of iced teas, and I spilled it on a woman, and she screamed bloody murder. It was a nice like higher end restaurant. I thought, this is it. I've lived a good life. I'm 13 now. I can say goodbye because I thought I'm dead. This is it. But it is part of it, and you have to learn your balance. Okay. So you got hired as a bar back because you showed up for the interview. You showed up on time. You showed up in a presentable manner, and then you were, just wonderful. And so we hired you as a bar back. And now, 3 years later, almost 3 years later, will be your anniversary in January. What are you doing now?
Well, we're doing this podcast.
You're doing this podcast, but even more so, you were hired as a bar back at Not a Speakeasy, which is one of the venues. And what else do you do for the bond group for the company?
Bartend here, Champagne Problems, UES, producing this podcast.
Yeah, so you went from having zero F&B experience to now bartending at essentially all three. You worked up from bar back to bartender, and it was a lot of those hero shifts, a lot of those shifts that kicked your ass, that made you stronger and faster and knowing how to multitask. And hi guys, welcome. And then we did comedy shows over at Not a Speakeasy.
Wow.
We did a ton of events, and then you're actually the drag bingo king, right?
Yeah,
and Androgyny. And I even remember that on your first couple of shifts together, it wasn't, vibing. And now you guys are like a dynamic duo, and everyone can find you at UES on every Thursday and doing drag bingo. And you were also here for the opening.
Fun.
Yeah, so fun, right?
So fun.
And she's a lot of fun, and obviously you're a lot of fun, and we are always about keeping shit fun. So, and then you opened Champagne Problems. Opened Champagne Problems. So you also went through an opening of a brand new place. So back to what. Are you still talking to that girl? Is it still a love connection? No. Okay, so
she
ladies,
dumped me.
She dumped you.
Yeah.
Probably because you were that hot bartender now, getting all the numbers is probably
something like that.
Yeah. So now you have all the experience, and yes, taking what you do in your personal life, and now you helped me. Well, I should say we helped each other, right? So business is an even exchange. You needed money. You needed to pay your bills. So by getting a job as a bar back, I was able to help you with that. But you were also able to help me continue my dreams, which is to have a global hospitality company, a global brand. And by showing up to work that day, you're taking care of our guests and you're making the bar run. And now fast forward 3 years later, now you're helping me on another leg of my career, my podcast, something that you have experience in and something that you want to see me grow and shine. And I want you to be a part of that journey. So really exciting. And it all, started with an ad on Craigslist. So
yeah.
Craigslist, everyone.
Well, I mean, yeah, it was like my interview with you. It honestly, it was like going and, talking with the stage manager. It was just like, it just reminded me of the most successful points in my music career where I was like, oh, things are about to happen, and it was just the way that you spoke to me. It was just, I just knew. I was like, this is going to turn into something eventually. I need a job right now, but I thought it was really cool that I was excited to, work with someone that reminded me of, the high points in my career, Yeah, it's crazy working at UES all the time and just seeing where we had that interview. It's because I guess it's been 3 years now. Mm-hmm. That's so wild.
So, and because obviously this is a podcast for hospitality, so we got to get into some of the nitty gritty things of your shifts. So can you remember some of your shifts, some of your favorite shifts or some of your least favorite shifts at any of the venues?
They all blur a little bit. I'm trying to think if there's any that.
Probably Halloweens are got to be some of our favorite. What are some of the things we've done? Some of the costumes.
Yeah. The Barbie.
Oh my gosh, the Barbie!
Yeah.
Hi, Barbie. That's iconic. You and Giselle behind the bar as the roller disco or the roller blading Barbies. Oh my God, that was iconic. That was definitely one of the best things we've done at Not a Speakeasy.
Yeah, and you guys wanted me to dye my hair blonde, and I always dye my hair blonde.
Yeah.
But I don't know why I didn't want to do it right away. So we last minute had to order the
The
wig,
wig.
and it
Yeah.
was like a bob, and then so
Yeah.
I put it on backwards. So it was like
To make it.
everyone was like, "You look like Rod Stewart." So it was like kind of like a mullet, but it worked.
Oh yeah, it worked. I mean, and now you're blonde. Look at this. But yeah, that was definitely something iconic we did. That was a lot of fun. All the Barbies showed out, and then we had the little plastic Barbies, and everyone was drunk, dancing
Yeah,
with Barbies. Like, what more could you ask for? Yeah,
Barbies
this
and
is.
Kens.
Yeah, yeah. It was. That was definitely one of the most iconic things that we've done over at Not a Speakeasy. We're always doing fun events like that and keeping it exciting. And so, like, what would you say though? Because we're getting real here. Is what are some of the toughest things about being behind the bar? Other than, again, getting yelled at because it's not clean, because this is never going to end. But
Well, it's there's a kind of you're operating these two personalities. One is behind the scenes there might be chaos and there might be things breaking down and you might be out of things and people might walk out on their shifts and or just somebody doesn't come prepared for their shift or whatever it is, doesn't show up, but you have to put on a show, for the guests. So it's like trying to, make sure that because when you're at a bar, you're not thinking about like what's the staff,
of course not.
what was
That's not why they go out. They're
yeah,
not. They don't. Well, you hear me say all the time. Nobody pays to hear about your bad day.
yeah,
And you're absolutely correct. All the world is stage, and you also know, and I know that I mention this in the interviews always, is that I use the analogy of Disneyland and the princesses. When you
yeah,
go to Disneyland, you save up that money, and you're so excited, and you want the matching ears, and you want to have a good time, and the princesses are like this the entire time. You
yeah.
don't know which princess didn't show. You don't know which
That's me.
prince had to be a princess that day or whatever it might be,
Yeah.
but you put your princess hat on and you are the professional and you are there to provide this experience, to provide this show, because just back to what we were saying earlier about it being an even exchange, well, you need the guests money, right? You need to
Yeah.
pay your bills, you need their money. Well, in exchange for that money, you need to provide them the service. After the pandemic, we learned everyone can do things at home. They can make their own drinks at home. They don't have to drink. They can also make their food at home. So if they're going out, there does need to be something else that we're offering them. And that is that human connection. And it's that, that exclamation point that you provided right in the very beginning in the interview,
Yeah.
right? We can never let the exclamation point be ellipses or a period. We always want to keep the vibe high. We always want to keep that exclamation point because that's what we signed up for. That's what we said we wanted to be.
Yeah.
And if there's a time where, because yes, it is time for not everyone is going to be a career bartender or have a career in hospitality. Like I said, they pick it up, they put it down. So when they're ready to put it down, they're ready to shake hands, then it's time for them to go. But while you're still in it, you still owe that full performance to the guest. And that can be difficult because we're humans too, right? Like you know, you can have a bad day, you can not get enough sleep the night before, but yet you're still expected to every single time. Hi guys, welcome. Especially at our properties, it's always, hi guys, welcome. You don't get to say, well, I didn't get to sleep or my train was late or all these things. So that's also something, like you said, you have to be able to juggle all of that and be that performer.
Yeah.
And you guys do. You do. There's certainly days where we don't expect it and then it comes and we can never fully know what kind of shift. It's every single day. It's a living organism. We don't know how many people is going to come and if they're going to be celebrating a birthday and reservations. They're 15, but now they're 25 and you have to keep your cool, right?
Yeah, there's just been so many times where it's been nobody and you think that the day is about to end and then you're just flooded with people.
Yes.
And everybody wants to drink right then and there at the same time, and it's kind of a shock to your system. You get used to it.
Yes, you do, and
it just like turns on instinctively.
Yes.
My first year doing that, when that would happen, sometimes I remember I'd go to the bathroom and close the door, and then I'd hear silence for like 5 seconds, and I'd be like, "Oh my God, like what am I gonna do?"
Well, you're absolutely right.
Your phone's vibrating, and
yeah,
then you
like,
look,
where
and
are
it's
you?
like,
And it's probably vibrating like, door, where are you? Like, what the hell is happening? But it is a skill. It's a skill set. And it's something that you train, just like you would train a muscle in the gym. You have to train yourself on high volume. And yes, every single time you do something, no matter what it is, after you've gone through it a couple of times, now you know it. It's like not knowing something. And then once you've learned it, is now your fact. It is now your piece of knowledge. And once you've stretched those muscles, and all you got to do, I mean, you know my career when I was a fighter. So take that 30 seconds, take that minute, and then get back in the ring. Just get back in the ring. You can never
Yeah.
get better at something if you give up on it.
Yeah.
So, and you are proof of that, because obviously you could have had a couple of hard shifts as a bar back behind the bar, and this is not for me, it's too intense. And we've had that, right? We've had
Yeah.
people that come in with the
That's
same,
why I get it when people,
when they're
people
like, it's
leave.
not for me, it's not for
I'm
me.
like, I get it.
I get it. I get
See
it.
ya.
Yes. And what's not for some people is definitely for others.
Yeah.
And you can take high volume training into any industry, because of course, as you get higher in anything, there are more responsibilities, there are more demands, there are more things, more boxes to check off. There's more, you got to keep that level high, the higher that you want to go. So you may not work as a bartender forever, but maybe then now you're working in the podcast and we have multiple guests and they want multiple things, and you have to make sure that you're handling everything very, very quickly while also handling your own personal things. So high volume is the same across the board, doesn't matter what profession you are in, and the better that you get at it, the further you can go anywhere you want to go.
Yeah.
So I want to talk about, because we're talking about the bar and that people drink a lot, and in the beginning you chose a non-alcoholic beverage. And as a matter of fact, I'm gonna have a little sip of our Topo Chico.
Yeah.
Let's have a little mid cheers here, because we're doing all
Mid-cheers.
this heavy talking. Let's do some heavy
Cheers.
sipping here. Yes. Okay, so why did you happen to choose that? Because you don't drink alcohol, is that right?
Yeah, not anymore. I mean, it's funny because you had said there's times you're hungover or you're whatever, and you have to just still show. I mean, there was one time I came into work, I was so hungover, and we were about to start, and I remember sitting down behind the bar, and I had to sit on the floor, and I just started crying. I was like, I feel so hungover.
Yeah.
Oh my God. And I quit drinking mostly to focus on, it's like I've been making music my whole life. I've been in a bunch of bands, we've signed record deals, I've produced for high profile artists, I've done all this stuff. I'm a singer. What I started noticing was the biggest singers that I would be around always were the most focused people. And I would ask them all the time. I'd be like, how do you not smoke? How do you not drink? How do you not go out and party? And they'd be like, well, I have to protect my voice, Everyone would go out and party, and then they'd stay at the hotel or they'd stay in the studio and drink tea and, and I always was kind of envious of that, like that discipline. And so I think it was more of a thing of me being like, I think I've exhausted every attempt I've had to make it in all of these career paths. Let me try and go all in and just, give it a shot, being completely focused, completely, locked in.
Sorry, because I know you. And while this is cute, and while I know we're doing our PSA announcements here, I know you have a better story than that.
Yeah, I mean, well, I lost a couple of deals too.
Yep.
I had a deal in the works, with some pretty awesome people, and I blew it by getting, wasted. And I mean, this was just like, it's a bummer because it happened all through my 20s. I mean, there was a time we got signed to this label that was ran by the singer of one of our favorite bands. We were huge fans of this band, and like we knew all their songs. And then when they emailed us, we were just freaking out. And we went to this interview, and he was like, I have this label and I think I can do a lot for you guys, and they were gonna bring us on tour through Mexico and all this stuff. I was playing guitar at this time, and we just not all, but 4 or 5 of us drank a lot. And I got obliterated at this Christmas party, and I wasn't even 21 yet. And then we did an opening show for them, and they were like filming the the show is a live show. During our set, I think I broke like 4 of my strings. I fell over the drum set. I mean, we would go crazy. It was, it was like screamo.
Yeah.
So we went wild on stage. So the drinking helped kind
You
of
get
fuel
to
that.
that level.
Yeah,
Yes. Yeah.
because we'd throw our guitars around our necks, we'd, jump in the crowd. And then, but I just got I was a little too excited.
Yeah.
And then once they got on, they're like recording their set, and I was just having the time of my life, and I was crowd surfing during their set.
Mm.
And the owner of the label was like, the other owner, the more like business one, had, I guess, convinced them to, kick us off. We hadn't even really signed the deal yet. It wasn't set in stone, but they just, they stopped calling. And this happened a few times, like through the bands and things like that. And I just it's hard enough trying to make it.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard enough trying to make it. And then you put on top of that all of the fires you have to put out. It's like it takes enough energy trying to get eyes on you and, get opportunities. And then you have to be a whole other person to like try and recover those opportunities after you've burned them and things like that.
Right. And you know that one of the very first things that you signed when you got hired was our drug and alcohol policy. And you know that we're a dry house. We're a dry
Yeah.
house. And you know me, I love to drink. I'm a big drinker. I love to go out, but you don't ever see me drink on property. We don't drink on property. The staff, if we have a New Year's Eve toast or something, or maybe something small on the anniversary party, is the only time I let you guys drink. And it always turns into a mess and everything's broken. But it is back to what you said about, I'm always functioning. I need to be functioning at 100%. So if, as your boss, how can I be doing that? And, I was also a consultant for many, many years before I owned my own company. And I worked for a lot of drunks or a lot of people that were drugged out. I mean, I'm from Vegas, right? So
Yeah.
everyone was always on something. And you just didn't know what the hell or the fire is that you were going to walk into that day, depending on what they took or what kind of mood they were in. So it was my choice, actually, after years of working for people like that. And I had one owner that, I had to pull him out of the office because he was so fucked up and I had to put him into a cab to get home every single night. And I'm thinking to myself, like, this is not, I was a general manager and this was not what I wanted to be doing. But so for the choice for myself, that's why we run a company like that. And we also have a lot of young people that are working for us. Sometimes they're not even 21 yet. And we want to show them that when you come to work, you need to put the work first. You need to be, like you said, 100% for those other people, for the guests, for your fellow staff members. Because like you said, if you want to throw up, you want to die on the floor, like how great are you going to be in the service station that day?
Oh my
How
God.
quickly are you going to, get those drinks out where people are also going to want stuff from you and you just want to die.
Yeah.
So that's why we run a company like that. And then there's a time and place, right? Like, cause like we like to vibe, we like to drink, so we'll do outings and shit where we do get to have fun. And, everyone's favorite is when I'm out in the wild and I like to have drinks, because I do like to drink, but there's a time and place for that. And it's not when we work. And, so, it goes back to what you said about showing up at 100%. And I really like that.
No, I love when people get to see that other side of you, because it's like you're so much fun, and
Don't tell anyone that I'm fun.
No. But you're like just the same way you are like a boss like that runs a really tight ship working. You also run a really tight ship for partying.
Yeah.
It's like everyone's got to be having fun.
Yeah.
Everyone's got to be taken care of.
Hell yeah.
Like nobody can be bored.
Sitting in the corner, bored. No.
Yeah. Like I saw that thing you posted about your 40 locations for your 40th.
Yeah.
It's like, who does that?
Yeah. Oh yeah. That was that was iconic. That I honestly, and 40 was I couldn't wait to turn 40. First of all, I couldn't wait to turn 40. I was excited about it. Not only did I turn 40, but I turned 40 in the year of the snake, which is also something that I was excited about. And when you have these big birthdays, new decade, new chapter, you want to have something that's memorable. When I turned 21, I went to Paris with my mother because I was from Vegas. I'm like, the last thing I want to do is turn 21 in Las Vegas. I'm already working in the clubs.
Yeah.
And so 30, I went to New Orleans with my closest friends because I love the New Orleans scene. But for 40, I wanted to. But the truth is while I could have gone to another country, when you turn 40, you really know who you are, what you like, what you don't. You know, the 20s is for you to try shit on, try on different outfits, try on different jobs, try on different things. You're learning so much about yourself. You know,
Yeah.
you're in that next chapter where you can drink, you can go out, you can make choices, you're living on your own. Maybe you graduated college, you're trying shit on. Then your 30s, you're just learning more. You're gaining all that knowledge. And by the time you're 40, you're like, yo, this is it. This is who I am. This is what I want to do. And this is what I want to be. And the things that I love the most is my crew, the fucking people that have stood by me that, like, you know, make my heart beat and my blood flow. And I genuinely love bars and restaurants, and the love of my life is New York City. So I was like, why would I leave the love of my life on my 40th birthday? I want to do exactly what I want to do, which is go to these places. And I did. It took me, you know, months to put together this script. I rented that Sprinter van and drove it, and everyone, you know, was getting in. They're like, you're gonna drive? Of course I'm gonna drive. So we drove around, and it was a wild, wild adventure. And yes, because you have different people that like different things. So I took into account some of my best friends. They are more foodies, and Rachel, you know, she doesn't always like to drink. Jasmine doesn't really drink at all. But we want to make sure everyone is having a good time. Everyone gets a little bit of something, and that you are eventually, you know, like when we throw these events, it's our job too to make sure that we are directing traffic and getting everyone to dance if we have to get everyone to. So I remember many times I would make Kayla do dances when we had these teenage parties and everyone had to be on the dance floor. But yeah, it's our job. And again, it goes back to, you know, I know you know me, and people maybe that don't know me, they always say I'm intense, I'm this, I'm that. But yeah, everything I do is full of passion, is that 100%, is that exclamation point. So when we work hard. When we play hard.
Yeah.
And that is definitely something that I live by. So, and not only is it important that you don't drink, but it's also really important for our guests, right? Like that's something that we're seeing now. A lot of people have chosen not to drink after the pandemic. Their choices have changed.
Yeah.
But it was always important for me because in my 20s, I never drank. I never drank. I was an athlete. I worked in the nightclubs, and I would go to the nightclubs, and I was, you know, I had my own Tupperware of food because maybe I was training, but I was always drinking a seltzer in my 20s. And, you know, being from Vegas, you're next to a recovering or you're next to a drunk, and it's always right there, and everyone is just, it's something that, you know, I see a lot of this where people feel pressure to drink when they're out with their friends because their friends drink, but that's never the way that we are. I'll drink 100, you can drink 0, and it's cool. We're gonna each do what we want to do.
Yeah.
And so we've always been a house, our venues have always been a place where you don't need to drink to enjoy them. And you're still going to come and you're still going to drink out of something fun. We're still going to celebrate you. And we want you to have the same experience that somebody did with alcohol, because it's more about, again, connecting to someone that's there, or the ambiance, or celebrating you. And you people can celebrate without having a drink, right?
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
it probably helped show me it was possible working here because of the excitement you put into every corner of your locations and the music and and kind of seeing what nightlife is actually supposed to be like. Because I mean, growing up, it was like, you know, I live down south, and I'm like in a band, and it's like we're like practicing out of sheds and stuff. So like partying or going out was like, you know, just going somewhere and getting, you know, wasted and eating like fast food. And we had a lot of fun sober too, for sure. But as far as like once I got to New York City, it was really hard to acclimate, you know, without, it was just so much going on, and I didn't know anybody, you know? And so it was like, you know, I kind of tried to do what I did down south here and just go to a bar and sit and just drink. But kind of seeing the excitement and seeing, you know, more about like the experience of things, you know, seeing more about tying people's personal interests in and making things exciting, and having a performer and having a DJ and having all these things, you know, kind of showed me like, oh, there's ways to have fun that aren't just, you know, getting wasted.
So a lot of times people drink because they need to bring the fun out in them.
Yeah.
But when you're already just fun organically, you don't need that, right? And the one thing I love about you is that when someone looks at you, they automatically have a lot of assumptions, right? They
Yeah.
automatically think they know what your life is. You know, you got that Travis Barker, Machine Gun Kelly looking
Yeah.
thing, and it's really surprising that not only are you sober, but you're also a vegan.
Yeah.
So that, I love that because this goes back to, not judging a book by its cover, because when people look at me, they can't imagine that maybe I was the general contractor, maybe I was the one that built the places, that did it without certain people. I may just be the chick behind the bar, or the chick that's there. So I like this about you because it makes it, again, so much more interesting. And so when people get to know you, they're like, really?
Yeah.
So then just tell me about that. What was the choice? Is it your background that of all the tattoos, why was that the choice? Because it's a choice to get a tattoo, but it's an even bigger choice to get a face tattoo.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. It definitely is a big choice. I
And
would
am I correct by saying that says make your own luck?
make your own way.
Make your own way.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
okay. And I
yeah.
did it my way. Where are we?
I did it my
I
way.
did it
I
my way.
love that
Make
song.
your own.
Oh
Yes,
my
yes.
God, I love
So
that song.
we have a lot of this.
If
Make
I
your
would have
own.
known about that song, I might have gotten that.
Well, and now we have both. We have it all covered. Make your own way, and I
Yeah.
did it my way. I mean, maybe I can add your name here too. It's fine. So
The tattoos, oh my God. I mean, it's one of those things. I mean, I'm sure you see it about yourself where you see how passionate and how far you've taken things in your life, and you're like, I don't know how we got here, but we're here.
Mm-hmm.
And that's like with the tattoos. I mean, first I was a drummer. That was my first thing. So I was snare in high school in marching bands. If I wasn't in trouble, if I was in trouble, I was bass drum, which is terrible because I was a tiny guy. And I was in jazz bands and just played in a bunch of punk bands. I had like Mohawk and all that stuff. So Travis Barker that was my guy.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
I was like Blink 182 with the MP3 player. I loved them. And just grew up on punk rock and stuff. So it's like I had all these pictures of, like band guys, from magazines and everything. And I was like, oh, I want to get tattoos. But I never thought it would be like this.
Mm-hmm.
But my dad also is my like number one. He's like my inspiration for a lot of things, and he's the drummer. So he was really good at drums and had an amazing music taste. And I think my mom too, the first artist, like she would play Bon Jovi and headphones on her belly when she
Oh
was,
yeah. Wow.
you know.
Amazing.
And so Bon Jovi, and then he introduced me to Metallica and Motley Crue, and he had played with Whitesnake, and he'd done all these cool things, and he started getting tattooed. And I just wanted to be like him. I wanted to be like him. I wanted to play drums like him. I wanted to. He's like the smiling at everybody thing that I do, and trying to be nice to everybody, and trying to like be really empathetic, and all of that comes from him. So it's like when he started getting tattoos, it was kind of like I couldn't just get as tattooed as he is. So it's like I kind of started, once I started getting tattoos, I kind of started pushing it a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, the next generation has got to one up the one before, right?
Yeah, like I can't
I'll
have
show
less.
you, Dad.
Yeah. And
I'll show you, Travis Barker.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's another yeah, it was like kind of just trying to go a little bit more extreme. And my best friend's his name's Eves. He's like a supermodel, dancer, singer. He's sober. And he's also like one of my like biggest inspirations in life. And he's helped me through a lot of things. And he's tattooed like insane, like head to toe, eyelids, his butt cheeks, everything. Everything you
Wow.
can imagine
Wow.
is tattooed.
Okay.
And like just like literally his whole face. And so when I saw that, and I saw how, like I think it kind of broke down a lot of the fear I had about getting more tattoos. Him and a few other people that I toured with in bands and stuff, who kind of went all in, and they still, were they were accepted by society. It's changing. It kind of opened me up to it, and I started. Actually, I think the first face tattoo I got was pretty extreme. It was like the whole side of my face. But then it was like I got my head done, and then I kind of started trying to cover things up a little bit, and this side looked uneven with this side, so I started putting some more flower petals in, and now it's kind of just taking over.
Yeah, you remember when I turned 38 and I went to London, and for my 38th birthday, I wanted to get my nose pierced.
Uh-huh.
And I asked you, remember? I was like a little nervous about it. And you're
You
like,
you
yeah.
didn't have your nose pierced?
No, I asked you in the
Yeah, I
kitchen at
remember.
not a speakeasy.
Yeah.
I was like, is this going to hurt? Is this going to suck or what? And you're like, no, you'll be fine. I mean, and I was fine. Oh my gosh, I remember I got it done and they were like, and I was like, I'm good with percentages. Like, let me know when we're going to start. 50%, 75%. They gave me an airhead because I'd eaten that day. I had just gotten off the plane and they were like, we're done. And it was just like a glove. So
Yeah.
I remember.
Maybe one
that.
teardrop goes down.
Yeah. Yeah. So when I'm ready for my face tattoo, I will come to you so that you can.
They don't hurt that bad.
Yeah, okay. All right. It's good to know. It's good to know.
There's parts.
Yeah.
But it's not as bad as you would think.
I actually have my eyelids, my eyeliner, that's black ink.
Black tattoo?
Yeah, oh yeah, I got it done in Chinatown years ago.
That's got to be
I already have one.
That's probably the worst you can do.
They did some numbing cream. So, okay, well, I'm going to ask you as we finish up here, I would like for you to give future and potential new New Yorkers a little piece of advice because, you know, you came here and you obviously started at a blank slate, just like a lot of us do when we come to New York, and you know how difficult of a city is. So what's one piece of advice that you would also give someone that's coming here for the first time?
Oh, there's a lot. I mean, I think coming here to visit or to move here like I did.
They're gonna make the jump. They're gonna make it here.
Just like really just one day at a time. If you think about the worst case scenario all the time and think about what could possibly happen to you if you go down this route and all this stuff, you're never gonna make any of the right decisions. You know, it's always going to be fear-based decisions, and there is an excitement to New York when you meet people, and you might think that person that you meet right when you get here or that group of people is like the people who are going to take you all the way, but there's going to be a lot of new faces and new people. There's just so much exciting in every neighborhood of New York. I've worked at studios in Bushwick, in Williamsburg, in Crown Heights, in Bed-Stuy, Times Square, Harlem. Now, like, most of the people that I do music with are in the Bronx. All new faces, and there's so many opportunities here. So just if things aren't working out, it's not that something's wrong with you. It's just that, you know, everyone's trying to find their matches and their fits. So just not necessarily turn and burn, but just be, you know, willing to go with people as far as that relationship takes you, and be open to maybe, you know, changing paths and trying new relationships out. But I wish, honestly, I really wish I wish I would have, I took a lot of risks, you know, I'm like definitely like a risk taker. And so it's might be wild to some people that know me to say this, but I wish I would have taking even more risks.
Yeah, hell yeah.
You know?
We have to live until we die, and, you know, tying it back to your shirt, which we discovered stands for never stop the commitment. That's a great little piece of advice to give people. And you make a choice, never stop the commitment, keep showing up for that choice. You know, never stop the Cortney, obviously. But,
yeah, which I saw your shirt too.
Yeah.
So Biggie and 50.
Yeah, you know, these guys are always doing the damn thing, and you also know that it's Tom Sanford that does the art for all of our properties, and this comes right off of a mural. I start with these ideas in my head. I get a piece of paper and a pen and with little stick figures, and then I basically go to Tom and I say, bring this to Magic Life, and then he does. And so, you know, we've got these guys, they talk about going from nothing to something. You know how I feel about Biggie's Juicy, which is actually why we're here, right?
Yeah.
You know, Christmas missed us. Now we sip champagne, and look how far we've come. I started at 13 when I was a dishwasher. I didn't come from anything. I didn't have any help or handouts, and now here I am. I'm 40. I have my own hospitality company. I have 3 venues under my belt. I'm able to help people that come to New York to pursue their passions and dreams, and now I'm launching a podcast. Like, who knows what's next, right? Like, you know, there's certain words I don't even use. I don't even use the word old. I won't slow down. I'm going to go until I'm dead, right? We vibe until we die. So Drew, thank you so much for being on. And if I am correct, obviously it didn't work out for the girl you moved for. Are we single these days? Because ladies, we can find Drew every Thursday at UES with Androgyny for Drag Bingo.
Yeah.
Drew's at Champagne Problems every Tuesday, and you can find him either at UES or Champagne Problems on the weekend. So, like we gotta make money here, Drew. Like,
Yeah.
so like so.
Yes, I'm single.
Yes, he's single. He's vegan. He doesn't drink, and
Make great drinks.
he's honestly one of the greatest guys I've ever met. So, Drew, thank you so much for being on. Now we sip champagne. Let's keep on sipping, baby.
Let's do it.